Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to view this introductory video of the OneView Plus roofing estimating system. This system provides virtually all the information you need to know to create an estimate now and to be able to review that information going forward, all in one view without having to search multiple sources. Just answer the typical specification and/or scope questions to automatically generate pre-programmed product selections and calculations. And although the results are formulated, they're fully customizable to suit a given job and can be personalized to meet any personal preferences. Digital takeoff from drawings is automatically recorded in the estimate, so no dual entry is involved. My original intent was to make this video as brief as possible. However, the more I got into it, the more I see there are functions of this system that are of such value that I feel the need to demonstrate. Nonetheless, I will try to be as concise as possible since your time is valuable, which is the purpose of this system, to save time and produce an accurate estimate along with associated documents. For this video, I'm using the Versico version. There are other versions for different manufacturers. Please keep in mind, regardless of what estimating method is employed, including paper plans and a scale, there are always typical specification and/or scope questions for which time needs to be spent to research and answer. This low-slope roof system scope and specification section contains these questions, some required, some optional for informational purposes. These questions are primarily in sequential order of installation, and a selection is made based on the drop-down boxes for the respective roof area. The answers will provide pre-programmed product selections and calculations throughout the estimate. Very importantly, everything is fully customizable, so any entry can be changed manually without negatively affecting any other result, and can also be changed back to the formulated result. I'm going to answer these questions in order to generate a hypothetical estimate based on roof area number 1. Fully adhered attachment, 20-year warranty, and on occasion there's expanded warranty, wind warranty coverage in the manufacturer's warranty, as well as hail coverage in the manufacturer's warranty. Not very often, but when it does occur, there's considerable cost involved. So I'm going to say no to both of those. Typically always an installer's warranty of some sort, let's say 2 years. And for the membrane, I'm going to use standard 60 mil TPO. New construction, steel deck. Going to include a substrate board, half-inch thick, and for attachment, it's going to loose lay it. For a vapor barrier, I'm going to say no. For the insulation, selection being flat, tapered, or none, or just recover board, I'm going to go with flat insulation. Whatever selection is made here, additional questions appear that need to be answered. So for flat insulation, the first question is the number of layers. I'm going to go with 2. I'm going to use R value for the criteria as opposed to the thickness required. Go with R30, which automatically gives us 2 layers at 2.6. I'm going to loose lay the bottom layer and mechanically attach the first layer, the top layer, which automatically gives us 8 screws and plates per 4x8 board. I want to say no, that there isn't any flat insulation on the inside of parapets anywhere, and we have no tapered insulation at this point. I'm going to say yes, that there are crickets, and the attachment will be adhered. Cover board, yes. Product, secure rock, 1/2 inch thick. I'm going to adhere that as well. And the question regarding FM requirements or specified requirements for enhanced perimeter fastening is important, as everyone knows that has an impact on the material required and the labor involved. So I'm going to say yes, that that's required, and note what happens, that automatically changes the screws and plates from 8 to 8/16 and 32, and the bead spacing for adhesive to 12/6 and 4. Most of these following questions here are not required in all cases, so I'm going to skip over them for the sake of brevity. And at this point, you notice that we have no existing roofs required, no existing roofs to be considered, because roof area number 1 is new construction. So once those questions are answered, we move on to the low slope roof system quantity takeoff and material required. So I'm going to connect to Plan Swift, and I'm going to take off roof area number 1. And I'm going to expand that a bit. It is a relatively complex area. But even though there's a lot of angle changes and directions, it can be digitized pretty quickly. Now, if you want to be absolutely precise, if you press and hold down the M key, it can expand the view if you want to be dead on in the corner in all cases. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that here. So taking off roof area number 1, and we automatically are showing 43 squares. And if you have 2 monitors, you can view this estimate and the drawings all at one time. So we need to know the roof height, and for that I'm going to look at an elevation, and this elevation is for roof area number 1. I'm going to take off that roof height. So we have 16 feet roof height, which comes into play for the perimeter fastening required, as well as for the loading and unloading. And we have curbs on roof area number 1. And that is a count function. So we want to know how many curbs there are for labor purposes, as well as for flashing. Any penetration that requires base flashing material for this estimate, for this system, is considered a curb. So now we need to know how many lineal feet of curbs we have. Make this a little easier to see. I'm going to hide the roof area takeoff. And if you ever miss any curb or any other dimension, you can always go back and add it in. So we have 146 feet of curbs in new construction. We need to know how that's going to be attached for the type of fasteners, whatever. So I'm going to say that flashings are going to be attached horizontally into the deck. And then we have base flashings, which would of course be exterior walls. So I'm going to presume they can all be flashed with 30 inches of material as opposed to higher walls. So as far as exterior walls for base flashing, we have 267 feet. I'm going to attach them the same way. Now we also have rising walls where the roof area meets a wall of an upper section that of course get treated a little differently. I've already inserted annotations to indicate the different elevations of the roof areas, with this area being 20 feet lower than this, and this roof 10 feet lower than that. So we have 155 feet of rising walls, stay with the same attachment. And we need to determine at those conditions whether there's stainless steel counter flashing required at those rising walls or any reglet to be cut or corners, but I'm going to leave them blank at this point. Need to count the number of VTRs, and these drawings are only showing one, but there may be others on plumbing plans or mechanical plans. Internal roof drains, need to count those as well. And walkways, these drawings are only showing a walkway by the hatch and by each unit, but I'm going to expand that a little bit to be more typical. I'm not going to make this exact, but I'm going to get the idea of the path created, which gives us 110 feet of walkways. And further down in the TPO material estimate, that 110 will be converted, already has been converted, to how many walkways, rolls, or pads are needed. I'm not going to worry about any expansion joint or tie-ins. So we have information provided based on those selections. The secure rock substrate board, no vapor barrier, the 2 layers of insulation with the entire column for unit pricing of all the material items that are default pricing, which can be changed manually based on having gotten a quote or a preference for a particular price. And my suggestion is that if you get a quote and this insulation of $87.50 becomes $78, I try to change the color of that so that I can see that it's been quote's been obtained or the default price was changed based on preferences. And we haven't done anything with the crickets yet, so I want to take those off, some of them anyway, just to show how, absent getting a quote for crickets, you can manually determine what's needed. Now, what I just took off is the Q panels. And we have 22 at this point, but I need to go further with that. So I'm going to continue recording since I didn't pick up all that were necessary. I'm just going to do some of these so we can get an idea on how many Q panels are required and which tell us we need 24 Q panels, round up to 25 based on the 82 feet. Now on this particular cricket area, we have a bigger depth than 4 feet, so we're going to need double Qs. So that's 14, which needs 14 feet, which needs 5 panels. And we have also Q panels plus 4-inch fill. Six feet of those, as well as the fill. So again, absent getting a quote for just crickets, it can be taken off and automatically calculated. So since we have FM requirements, we need to know additional information in order to quantify the perimeter fastening required. So in order to do that, we need to know what the lesser dimension is for roof area number 1, and I'm just going to use this one edge as the lesser dimension. We already know the roof height, so that tells us there's only 3 feet that defaults to 4 required for 50% additional fasteners at the perimeter. And how many feet is that perimeter? I'm going to go with mostly the whole thing, even though there might be some variation based on rising walls that don't need any. So 287 feet of perimeter tells us there's 8 additional squares of perimeter requiring the increased fastening and 1 square in the corners. That's to attach that top layer of insulation using 7-inch fasteners, which the thickness, the length of the fasteners was automatically determined based on the thickness of the material that's being attached, as well as the steel deck. And everything else, based on what we did for the fasteners, filled in for additional adhesives involved. So we have the fast dual cartridge for the crickets and the fast 5-gallon jugs for the crickets. All this provides us with the TPO material. And again, these unit prices can be changed based on getting a quote. Or default using calf grip, or if somebody wanted to use bonding adhesive, you can change that accordingly. I'm going to stick with the calf grip. Accessories, which can be changed manually, and our calculations of how many feet of walkways there were automatically populated the line for the walkway rolls, telling us we need 2 at that unit price. We didn't select any 2-piece counter flashing or whatever flashing might have been needed at the rising walls. Now we do have a roof hatch, so I want to count that in. Not going to get into edge metal at this time. We have the 43 squares of a 20-year warranty at that unit price, and there is default labor that automatically plugs in that can be changed manually, because as everyone knows, every job is different. Every personal preference could be different, but all these different labor man-days can be changed based on the specific job involved. And we have a total price, and everyone can figure their markups differently, overhead, labor overhead. So all that can be adjusted. All this section on costs and dollars can be changed to suit however particular user wants to calculate that. So we're basically done with roof area number 1. But multiple roof areas as well as alternates can be accommodated. And I know this project has 2 roof areas, so I'm going to change the number of selected roof areas from 1 to 2, which gives us another column for roof area number 2. And I know there's 1 alternate, so I'm going to select 1 as the alternate, which gives us a column for alternate number 1. So I'm going to take off roof area number 2 and keep this relatively simple for expediency's sake. We call this roof area number 2. Which is only 16 square. And notice when I digitize the area for number 2, all of the information that was selected for number 1 automatically plugs in for number 2. However, I know that roof area number 2 is a roof replacement project. So I'm going to change new construction to replacement. And what that does, based on the squares, is automatically plugs in dumpsters, but it does tell us that there are existing roofs and we need to answer more questions regarding the makeup of that existing roof and how many there are. So I'm going to say there's 2 BURO slag over fiberboard that's been mopped, top roof modified over ISO, it's mechanically fastened, and the total thickness of 4 inches. So all that information is needed to determine, 1, how many dumpsters we need, which we automatically default to 2 dumpsters. And it also changes the labor to reflect the additional tear off. So we know that the squares are different, a lot less in area number 2, but when you have tear off involved, the labor formula increases to reflect that, as well as any other aspect of the content of a new roof or an existing roof. Now we know there's also one alternate, and that alternate is, in lieu of a 20-year warranty, a 30-year warranty. So we select a 30-year warranty, and that automatically changes the 60 mil TPO to 80. It changes the PSI of the insulation to 25, and it changes the fastening in the field from 8 to 16, all automatically, because we selected the 30 year. That's the only change that was made, and all these other items changed accordingly, including the bead spacing. The alternate insulation plugged in at the 25 PSI. And the 80 mil TPO plugged in at 7 rolls, same number of rolls that are in the base bid. All automatically, just having changed the 20 to a 30. Along with the labor, we have 19 man days in the base bid for the roofing, but with the alternate for a 30-year warranty and the additional things that are involved, that defaults to 22, which again can be changed manually at the user's discretion. So when all these entries are made, we still have some lines that we don't need, so I can filter those lines out. In order to make much cleaner presentation, where we don't have a lot of information that isn't needed. But also, for example, the vapor barrier, which we said there was none, still appears even after the filtering, so that when you go back 2 weeks, 2 months, you need to determine what's included and what isn't. The information is there without having to look in the specs or anywhere else that you've got no vapor barrier involved and anything else that you may have selected no. It's still going to tell you that without having to look anywhere else. Now, there's also estimating forms available for metal roofing, wall panels, siding, shingles, vegetated roofing. And when you have nail board or insulation specified under a metal roof or shingles, figuring out what products are the best choices can be involved. And here's a way that can be simplified by using this system. I'm not going to get into a complete shingle or metal roofing estimate, but I just wanted to demonstrate this particular aspect, which I think is a lot of value. I'm going to stick with the R30 requirement above the deck in this metal roofing project. I want to say yes that there's nail board with a 5/8 OSB facer. So based on that information, the selection is being made of the best possible opportunity, best possible assembly. That we're going to use 3-inch nail board, which has an R value of 15. Use 20 psi. So to meet the R30, it automatically tells us yes, that we need more insulation. Only one layer. We need an additional R15. So we put a layer in of 2.6, and we have met the R30 requirements. Let's call this new construction with a steel deck with a 612 slope. So if we go to the panels, or the roof panels required so we can get an area, say this is the metal roof, roof number 1. We do that a little differently because we have to consider the slope involved, which we've already said was a 612. So let's say this is the metal roof area. And we want to send that data (2,986 square feet as opposed to squares, because metal roofing material is quoted and used in how many square feet. So based on the information that we provided above, we we automatically are told that we need the 2.6 insulation, the 3-inch nail board, and it calculates the 7-inch fasteners for nail board based on a steel deck. If that was a wood deck, we don't have to figure out the different fastener. It automatically changes to the wood deck fastener, which the pricing is different, and ice and water shield. Now that same concept of the easy calculation of the nail board or insulation required can be done with a shingle roof as well. So when these systems are combined in the project breakdown, provides the total pricing for the project as well as a breakdown of the different types of roofing. We can see that our single ply system is 73,350, the metal roofing 29,047, for a total of the 102,396. Now there are many more variables that can be accommodated, such as multiple base bid roof areas that have different decks and or different insulation, as well as alternates for white EPDM when the base bid is TPO, alternates for recovering in lieu of replacement. Too many variables to get into in this introductory video. So what we have done on this estimate automatically creates additional relevant documents, including a material list, which also can be filtered so that you don't have unnecessary lines. And you can look at a material list based on the estimate. There's also a schedule of values that automatically gets generated, which again can be changed manually. The typical AIA type billing form, purchasing chart, and others that I won't get into at this time. So for a more detailed presentation of this system, contact me via email at oneviewplus@comcast.net or call or text to 215-499-9737. And I thank you again for your time and consideration.